right, so I am not rich, but I am a freelance journalist and I do this full time. I have a few tips for you on how to find paid work and how to make it as a freelance journalist in 2026. So I got a comment from one of my followers who said, how do you find opportunities in an oversaturated field? How you make your living through journalism, and how I personally succeed today in these post-Gen AI times, and whether it's even possible. It is possible. I make a pretty good living working Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to maybe 2 p.m. As a freelance journalist, I work for myself. I have various relationships with editors and other clients who give me recurring work. About 8 years into my freelancing experience, I actually don't have to pitch all that much anymore. I'm oftentimes approached by editors who want me to write specific pieces, and that's just from doing stuff like that in the past and delivering. We also have had a success story. So my last two videos, I broke down 2 pitches from Jennifer, a freelance journalist in the States who asked for help workshopping some of her pitches. So I went through her first pitch, gave some feedback, and then I did her second pitch last week. She used some of the tips I gave her in those videos, and she actually landed a 3,000 word cultural criticism piece that was timely. Cold contact, she didn't know the person. They said, yeah, let's do it. So that's huge. Anyways, okay. So how do I make a living as a freelance journalist in 2026? I'm completely self-employed. How to find paid work. So the first thing is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is huge. You need to be on LinkedIn. You have to use your first and last name the same way that you have your journalism work. You need to fill out everything, the About Me section, the highlight section, professional headshot, and a banner image. And you're gonna want to follow every journalist you know, any journalist you admire, any editor, any publication. And once you start following these publications, editors and journalists, you will start to see really, really good posts in your feed. Follow as many active freelancers and keep tabs on where they write for. That means that you could probably pitch them too. Sometimes these journalists even tag the editor that they worked with. Follow that editor, follow the publication. Eventually, when you follow this editor, she's gonna put out a call for pitches and ask, we're looking to run a series on whatever, like hit me up with pitches. Because you're connected with her and you're following her, you're gonna see this from the editor before other people do. There are freelance journalist newsletters. While these are great resources to understand what opportunities are out there, by the time it hits the newsletter, it's pretty much too late to pitch. A lot of the times you click on the link and the post is actually dead because the editor just got bombarded by emails, right? You want to see the post when it's still on LinkedIn. You don't want to be the last person to hear about it in the newsletter. Not ragging on these newsletters. They're extremely valuable, but for a freelance journalist who wants to be a little bit ahead of the curve, you're going to want to see those posts at the point of origin. Here's another tip, and I know it feels cringe, but honestly, I'll just give an example and you'll get on board really quickly. So I have a couple freelance journalists who I just comment on their stuff. I've fact-checked their pieces before, or I know them from school, or I don't know them at all, but I've seen their name around and they're doing good work. And I'll just be like, can't wait to read this, love this, or whatever. That's the type of genuine engagement that you want to do in LinkedIn. I know some people think it's kind of icky, but here's my example. I used to fact check for accounting magazine. The woman that I always dealt with there, she would give me the fact checking work. So I was connected with her on LinkedIn, and she posted recently that she's looking for a freelance journalist based in my province to cover an event. I don't live in that town, so it would be ridiculous for me to go up there and do that. However, I commented, I was like, always down for Nova Scotia based stories. And I got an email 20 minutes later. They were offering me to cover this event, $750 for 400 words to cover an event. And it was a sponsored, branded post. That's really good. You're also going to see where journalists are moving to. So there might be a journalist who leaves one publication, goes to the next. These are interesting trends that you're going to want to be privy to. If you want to see where things are moving, it's also a good way to get tabs on the industry. So if you feel like a little bit of an outsider, give it a try. If you're not on LinkedIn, that's number one. The next way that you can get paid freelance work is cold emails or pitching cold, which we've talked about before on this channel. I have 2 videos of workshopping a pitch. You can click on those and learn a little bit about my process. There's so much information out there from editors on how they want to be pitched. You need to do your research before you pitch an editor. Go on their LinkedIn, go on their Twitter, and see what they're looking for and what they want to be pitched. That's number one. If you are responding to a pitch call, do exactly what it says. If it says write it in the body of a pitch, only include one pitch, do exactly what they say, only include one pitch. If the pitch call says, please include this in your subject line, you better do that. All of these things show that you have attention to detail and that you're going to be easy to work with as a freelance journalist, especially for an editor taking a chance on you for the first time. If you're going to be aggressively pursuing this, you need to send 5 to 10 pitches Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I would say. You're going to aim for like 20 to 30 cold pitches a week. And that's if you want to get published. I don't want you to burn out, but you can always repackage your pitch. So let's say you have 5 unique pitches. You can spin off each pitch 5 different times and pitch those to 5 different publications. Even if you send a pitch out to an editor and you get a rejection, sometimes they actually include information in the rejection. So you may as well just get out there and pitch. You're going to want to pitch as if you're a PR person and you have a client to represent. You are your own client, but you want to make money, so you have to go out there and you have to pitch. Look for timely events that are coming up. If there's any celebrations or holidays or trend pieces, you're always going to want to look ahead, especially in magazines. You're going to look ahead like 6 months, which can be a little bit tricky. I know that. So if you're new on that, just try and stick with maybe more digital publications to start. This doesn't have to be complicated. You can write these on a Sunday afternoon when you're chilling, watching TV. This is just a little bit of legwork that you have to do. If you want a successful freelance journalism career, you have to research some publications. You need to get a good handle on what people run, what people are looking for, and that's where subscribing to newsletters come in handy. Because you know that there is a publication out there who's looking for pitches on XYZ topic, you can put that in your back pocket for later. I personally would not pitch an editor once it's already included in a newsletter because they're about to get swamped, and I'm not going to basically waste my time. I'm going to look for a publication that other people aren't pitching right now, if that makes sense. The next thing you're going to want to think about is warm leads. So you can ask friends, family, your friend who works at a marketing agency, if they're ever looking for writing. This might not be in a journalistic capacity, but it might be event coverage for universities. There could be campaigns going on locally. There could be charities, anything like that. They might have a budget for marketing. They might have a budget for public outreach. You never know, and it's worth asking. So there's always all this focus on cold pitches, but you gotta remember the warm leads that you already have. And that includes editors that you've already written for in the past. If it's been like a couple years, you can literally just go back to them, be like, hi, I hope you've been well. I know it's been a while. I was just wondering, touch base to see if you have any assignments that you're looking a writer for. You can say, I have a pitch for you. I'm just wondering if you're accepting pitches at this time, and just see what they say. If they're like, yes, please, we're looking for pitches on XYZ, you just learn something, right? And now you're gonna be able to better tailor your future pitch to them just from one email. And you already have the connection, so you may as well use it. For example, a lot of editors will move publications. You're going to want to reach out to them at their new publication and just ask them how they're doing and if they're accepting any freelance pitches. It can't hurt. It really can't. Your job is sending emails. You may as well send some. In the same vein, this only ever happened to me once or twice, I think, but a friend of mine sent me a story post from Instagram, a person that we had both gone to high school with. She was like the PR or marketing lead for a society, and they were looking for a writer and journalist, and he sent it to me and was like, you should message her. And I messaged her and I wrote for that place, I want to say 3 years until she moved on. And I think I did like 8 stories a year, and it was a good rate. And it was really easy and fun. So that's just an example of people in your network you probably already know who might actually need your services, and it's worth trying. So you could post. I personally wouldn't do this because I'm like weird and shy, but if you're looking for work, you can post on your LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, friends and family. If anyone needs writers, here I am. If you want to make a freelance living, you have to strike out from just consumer publications, and you're going to want to find trade publications, B2B business publications, local hospital foundations, winemakers association, alumni magazines, that kind of thing. So there are some resources, and I'll link them below. There's a magazine index. It's every single magazine that you can think of. For example, Firefighters Weekly, Gardening Magazine, Woodworking Magazine, construction firms, HR and accounting, marketing, women in business, business societies. These are all magazines, but they're not as hot as like very popular consumer publications. They might have like really big circulations. So for example, any university magazine, if you know any alumni who have interesting stories, you can pitch that person's alumni magazine a story about them. And these can be historical stories. They don't have to be recent. Send a letter of introduction and just introduce yourself. Honestly, the easiest one to reach out to is your own alumni. So reach out to your old school and see if they need writers. It's really not that complicated. If they don't, you tried. And if they do, you just got a client. One great way to figure out what the heck is out there is to go to the magazine section at the superstore, go to a large bookstore that carries a bunch of magazines or a huge magazine store, flip to the front cover, look at the masthead, take a picture of it because it's going to tell you who the editors are. You can go online later, look them up, see if they're accepting pitches, even if they're not. Send them a note. This is your research. You have to do this. This is part of your job, and this is how you're going to find opportunities when no one else is looking. There's probably one on boating. There's probably one on cats. Obviously, there's some on home design, lifestyle, and beauty. Let's go a little bit more boring for these because this is where people are probably overlooking. All to say, they have to pay you. Don't write for free. Next, and this has come up a couple times to my benefit, is Facebook groups. There are freelance focused Facebook groups. They're called like binders full of writing jobs, and you need to get an invite. So if you know any mutual friends, they can invite you into it. There's Canada specific ones, there's US specific ones, there's women identifying specific Facebook groups. So sometimes people post just information. Does anyone know who the editor is at this magazine? Does anyone know who's accepting op-eds at this newspaper? And people comment and give information. Sometimes the actual editor comments and says, oh yeah, please email me here. You just got an email. Next is to think of certain buckets that you can write about and then reverse engineer a publication that you can pitch. So for example, there's business, tech, finance, architecture, lifestyle, personal essays. You're going to want to find out who's accepting ideas in that bucket. So for example, you're going to find out that there's a ton of architecture magazines out there that you've never really thought about. If you know a cool building in your town that you want to write about and it's worthy of being written up, you can research what magazines take on architecture pieces, and chances are you're going to find a bunch. Business, tech, and finance are huge niches that people, I hate the word niche because I'm a bit of a generalist. I just do what I feel like doing, but I will say that there's a huge desire for content in these buckets because people like to better themselves and they like to understand what to do with their own money. So those are some overlooked buckets that you should be looking into. A little bit of a note on personal essays. I've written a few personal essays in my day and I went on to use those bylines a million times, so it was worth it. But if you have a really good idea that you want to write about, you'll get $300 now, but that story is going to be out there for like 15 years plus on the internet forever. So just think about if you actually want this to exist forever. Another way to be a little bit ahead of the curve is to research whatever year it is, research the anniversaries of books, movies, pop culture, albums, stuff like that, events. If there was like a true crime event that happened 30 years ago, you might be able to pitch an anniversary piece, and this is the case for everything. Adaptations are huge. We've known that this Odyssey adaptation has been coming out for years. If you were ahead of the curve, you could have read the book over the winter, pitched a story for July. If you are in like cultural criticism, entertainment journalism, that kind of thing, you're always going to want to look out for anniversaries way ahead of what you think. So let's look at what is coming out in the fall and the winter. If you're a bookish person, you know about books and that they're going to get adaptations. If there's big releases coming out like next Christmas, is it based on a book? Can you read the book? Can you come up with a unique angle and pitch that way ahead of time? These are the kinds of things that you got to be doing in order to get a leg up. It's pretty much too late the week before the movie comes out to pitch something. Not always, but by the way, if you do a great job, you might be able to write for the publication again. That's the whole point. All right, for this second section of the video, I'm going to talk about how I make a living through journalism. And while pretty much all the money I make is from journalism, I do other stuff too because I like doing things and I like being outside. So I don't sit around all day and worry about journalism. As soon as I stopped doing that, my life got a lot better. And yes, you can pitch and worry and pitch and worry, or you could just like go out there and live your life. And chances are there's going to be story ideas that you find through doing so. So how can you succeed in these like post-Gen AI times? Is it even possible? Yes, it is 100% possible to be a freelance full-time journalist in 2026. You might need to supplement your income through other ways at first, but eventually you could go full-time freelance. The best thing to do to get away from this like artificial intelligence, like chat GPT writing thing is to like go out and report, because that thing is never going to be out there reporting. That's something only journalists can do. And if you have a unique idea, pitch it. If you saw something in your real life, same thing. Like, these are the ideas that the robots can't have because you went out there on a Sunday afternoon and saw something interesting in your community. Real, actual editors don't want AI slop. If you're encountering people who want you to use AI in journalism, that's kind of a red flag, and I would steer clear from that publication 100%. Just avoid it. I would not want to work with an editor who's asking you to use AI. And if it seems like a lot of the content is written by AI, I would find a different publication. There are literally thousands. Once you make space for new publications, you'll find that you'll attract better paying gigs and better editor relations. And finally, this person was wondering how to craft and land a pitch. I already talked about that in one of my other videos, so please go check out. There's actually two, and hopefully those are a little bit helpful for you. If you have any other questions on how to make a living as a freelance journalist in 2026, please leave them below and I'll get to it in another video. Hopefully this has given you some ideas of where to look for stories, story ideas, publications, editors to pitch, and that kind of thing. So until next time, have a good one.